Now, Effective Communication with Phil Zeller, CEO, Dale Carnegie, Southwest Michigan.
Question for you, my friend. Has someone offended you today? Have you been offended by anyone today? Well, maybe you turned on the news and you got offended, right? Or maybe you got something in your feed and social media that offended you. But how many times do you get offended by other people? Now, some people do a lot, and some people say, hey, it's not my issue. So that depends on you. But why were you offended? Were you offended because it was a half-truth? They only gave half the story? Or were you offended because they actually lied because they're trying to cover something up? Or were you offended because it was a gross exaggeration of what's actually happening? So which one was it? Why'd you get offended? Why'd you get offended? And I want to focus for a moment on the third one, because the other two, we'd be here for hours, but I want to focus real quickly on the third one to help you out here, to make sure that when you communicate with other people, and again, this is Phil Zeller, Effective Communication. It's a privilege and honor to be with you. When you communicate, you want to have impact, right? You want to have influence on people, and you want people to listen to you and take you seriously. Well, one of the things that we have to do right now so people don't get offended is that we have to make sure that we're focused in on what's actually happening. And what happens is oftentimes people exaggerate the situation. And one of the ways they do this is they say to you, well, you always do that, or they always do that, or you always, and it's always, 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 always. And really, is it? Is it always? Is it always that you really do that? Is it always that that person always does that? How much time have you spent with that person to know if that's what they always do? So right out of the gate, a lot of times people get really frustrated with people because they do make a gross exaggeration about something. They just take one little thing and then all of a sudden they say this is the whole situation, the whole person, this is all they are because of this one thing. Well, with that being said, when people do that, it's because they have not taken the time to actually look in the mirror. And when you look at the mirror, you're a lot more complex than that. You're not just one person in one moment. You're a person with a lot of moments and a lot of history with a lot of experiences. So it's looking at the wholeness, not at just this one thing in time. That being said, but if it's you and somebody says you always do that, and you're thinking, wow, no, I don't. That's not correct. I mean, some examples you probably faced, right? It's when your significant other says to you, how come you never put your dishes away? You never put your dishes away. Well, there are times that you have actually probably sometime in your life put a dish or two away. Now, if you've never done it, okay, maybe they're right. But odds are you've done it once in a while, right? And then the other thing, another one too, is and maybe you hear this one with you never pick up your clothes. You know, you got to pick up your clothes. Why do you leave your clothes around, right? You always leave your clothes around. Well, do you always do it? Or you do it some of the time? Some of the time some of your clothes actually get into the laundry? They actually get in the hamper? They actually go where they need to go? Does that ever happen? My guess is probably it does sometimes, right? Occasionally, maybe, at best. But it's these little things when people make these gross exaggerations that we always do something, and it gets us upset. So let's not make sure we're not that person who does that. Let's not get people upset with us. So if you're going to give somebody feedback and you don't want to upset them, don't make a gross exaggeration. That's what we're here to talk about. Don't do it. You know, as my mom used to always say, don't make a mountain out of a molehill. There's no point in it. It's going to get people frustrated. What you really want to do when you're actually talking to somebody and you're going to give them feedback on something is that's the time to be very specific. That's the time to be specific with them. Is specific on the situation, the current behavior. What are they doing in the situation? It's not always. It's in this moment in time. So share with them, say, in this moment, I see this is going on. Please help me to understand. And focus on the situation at hand, because that way they can stick with you and you can work your way through it and you actually can deal with the thing that is offending you or getting you frustrated in the moment with this other human being. So tighten it up, keep it narrow, keep the focus on the current behavior when you're going to get in this discussion with somebody. Otherwise, it's going to go off the rails, and you've all been in the conversation before where it went off the rails because you always do this. No, I don't. I just did it this time. And, oh, yeah, I did it 3 years ago. And, oh, yeah, your memory serves you right. I did it 7.2 years ago too, right? No, you don't do it all the time. You do it occasionally. So when talking to people, don't make generalizations about their behavior. Be very specific if you want to influence them in your communication. And if you're giving them feedback, it's specific, it's within context, they agree, now you can help the person change the behavior. And that, my friends, is effective communication. Now go make it happen.